Welcome back for another video. It's Eharbad once more, and we're in Raid Shadow Legends as always. And I wanted to talk today about really Soulcross hard and epic empowerment. And it's really along the lines of which epics are really worth your time. Which ones should you be focusing on in terms of empowerment, in terms of ranking up, in terms of picking up the blessings. And, I'd say most people have a really good appreciation nowadays in terms of which epics are just objectively good, which ones are going to help them with progression, and which ones are going to help them in certain areas of the game, like faction wars. But I think as you move more towards the end game and you're thinking about epic empowerment, for instance, and wondering, who is worth investing those extra copies of the epics in, who's really gonna progress your account further. That does partly depend obviously on what dupes you get, but it's also important when you're thinking, who do I put on my wish list? And just when you're progressing through the game, who do I next 6-star? So when you're looking through your champions and you're thinking, of my 5 stars here, who is worth taking to 6-star, who's going to really push my account on, particularly from the epic perspective. So I can already identify a few for myself. Gwyneth, Pan, my second Rock Breaker. These are 3 epics that I'll be looking to do. Probably Gorlos as well. Even Luria and Woad Painted have their use cases these days. So there's a lot of epics that are going to be valuable. And there are many stages within Curse City where we have to be using epics. In this particular rotation, we're looking at things like stage 14, stage 18, stage 19 is an epic only. Stage 16 was not. Was 13. 13 was epic only as well. So, I mean, rare and epic, but by and large, that means epic. There's a few rares that are very good. And I actually have a video where I talked about best rares in Doom Tower, particularly looking at the Doom Tower secret rooms on the hard side, where we do get rare champions such as Secret Room 12 here on Doom Tower 3. And that still really applies, because the majority of those rares that are top tier in the secret rooms end up being the same ones that I use in Cintranos. So we're looking like Nullhorn, Soulbond, etc. But on the epic side, there's so many more. And I thought, how should I approach this? And, I could look at a spreadsheet that is based on the data that SAF provided. I've kind of made my own pass at it. So I've really filtered it down, just looking purely for Soulcross ones, hard Soulcross. That's the only subset of the data that I care about. And I've started adding special tags on top. And I'm going to ultimately add which champions I used on which stage, in which rotation, to try and work out, even further optimize that. And so, we can come in here and we can say, like, I'm only interested in epics, and I'm only interested in, say, this is all of Soulcross, but you can see I've got some tags. So, like, which epics are going to help me with Fire Knight 17, for instance, or which epics are going to help me on the hardest stages. Now, for me, the extreme stages, if we jump back in game, are basically the ones that are the most onerous. So we're generally looking at stage 8. It's a gateway. It's really a pivotal one. You could argue stage 6 is as well, as is Iron Twins. These are all kind of pivotal. But stage 8, it tends to be one that's a bit of a blocker. 13 is very hard often. 14 is very hard often. 18, 19, 20, these are all very hard. And I think I might have included a couple more. We can actually just jump back over here. And if I go for the tag extreme, I have stage 8, 12, 13, 14, 18, 19, 20, and 21. So those are the stages that we're looking at as the extreme difficulty. And you can see here on the epic side, on the extreme difficulty, we've got a weighting towards Skinwalkers, Night Revenants, Sylvan Watchers, basically right at the top. And Steel Skull, for instance, Daithy is another. So this is one way we could look at the data. And we could look at it for, like I said, all of Sintranos or just specific subsets. And that's going to be very valuable when we're trying to min-max in terms of which champions to build. But I think the better way to get a holistic overview is actually to take this faction by faction and refer back to this data as we go. So, for instance, in Bannerlords, from personal memory, I remember doing that I've basically full cleared the last 3 rotations, and the first 2 I nearly full cleared, but there are a couple of stages I was kind of roster blocked. Archmage was MVP for at least a couple of stages. Stag Knight, absolutely MVP. These are the 2 that I would absolutely recommend everyone build. They're also fantastic for faction wars, wave content, and just general progression, but they are definitely Sintranos MVPs. If we jump back to our calculation here and we pick just Bannerlords only, and we look at who is used across the board within all of Soulcross, you can see Stag Knight actually is used a number of times. Archmage doesn't actually get featured too many times, only at 8, but if we go down to the extreme, we can see he is used once. I definitely used him in that stage. So it's one of those ones, he doesn't get a lot of use, but when he is used, you need him. And it's kind of the same on Stag Knight. I did use this Stag Knight also for a Amius stage, I believe. So not getting a lot of usage, but they are definitely the best. I'm not massively fussed about any of the rest. Seneschal, pretty good. Oathbound, pretty good, but not good enough to necessarily be high up on your build order. And if we do go back and look at Stag Knight, we've got debuffs and he actually does decent damage. So he's really going to benefit from being empowered and having those high blessings. He scales well off the stats. Archmage, very similar. We do have an important debuff here with the stun and can be on an AoE basis. He does need to crit to make this happen, which means, again, he's stat hungry, brings us buffs. We want to build him fast. So he'll benefit from having a high blessing and he'll benefit from having a high awakening. And that pretty much sums it up for me. I would say other little shout outs. I have used Lady Annabelle. I have used Elfrig. I've seen people use Giscard as well. And beyond that, I did see Rowan used. But, you know, the 2 that I really focus on above all, Archmage and Stag Knight. If we move over to High Elves, and we go again to the epic side, ones that I can call out from memory of using them, Tayrel, Royal Guard, Skaramis, used all 3 of those, absolutely. Neldor, also very strong. I've used Jingle Hunter. I really like Jingle Hunter. I think really underrated. Particularly you get this AoE freeze if you kill a target, and you also get an AoE drop turn meter that can hit pretty hard. This A2 hits very hard and will benefit from, obviously, all the empowerment and stats generally scale well on attack-based champions. That's pretty much it for me. I would say those would be the 5 epics I would be targeting. And if we come back and we have a look at the overall High Elves, where are you hiding? You're under H, obviously. And we look at all the stages, who is being used. Actually, Battle Sage really coming in big time in terms of number of stages you can use her in. Tayrel, we did mention, extremely strong. Jingle Hunter, you can see, can be also used quite a number of times. Royal Guard, 9 stages. Neldor actually only 6, so those a very strong champion. Doesn't get a lot of usage. And if we look at the very hard stages, Tayrel, Jingle Hunter, Royal Guard, and Skaramis all coming in with 2 times each. If we do jump back in and we look at Battle Sage, you do actually have Revive on Death on a target, increase attack that can't be removed, with a full cleanse as well, which is actually really strong. And then an AoE A1. I probably will actually be looking to build her as a consequence. You know, we get all speed battle. You can use her in 16 stages across the 5 affinities. I think she's well worth noting down. And I think that's going to be what I'll do as we go through this is any champions that I haven't built that, you know, we can find out that actually seem to get a lot of use. I'll make a note of them. I think that's going to be the best approach. In terms of plus empowering and blessings, Tayrel will benefit very well. Skaramis doesn't do a lot of damage. I would definitely favour Tayrel above all the rest of them, and then probably Royal Guard, who can also be used as you're progressing through Hydra. Pretty good there. Those would be the 2 I'd focus. I think I'm trying to pick up Neldor because I kind of want to use him in potentially in a Fire Knight 10 hard team, so I would like to get a blessing on him just to get Phantom Touch. But if I could get like a 6-star Tayrel with Crushing Rend, that would be really, really strong. I would say this, Tayrel I found strong enough that I'm tempted to build a second Tayrel. I don't think I have a second Tayrel, but if I did, I'd be looking to build one. On to Sacred Order, we have a look at the epics. There's a lot of them. Frostbringer definitely was useful against Amius, 1 rotation. I didn't use her, and she was useful against Fire Knight 17, the hard one. So I would be looking to build her most likely, and I think I actually will be looking to build her myself. Increase speed, increase attack, all allies. You do get a decreased defense, but it's actually this heal reduction, which has become a very clutch move these days. 50% chance on each attack. So you've got a really good chance of keeping that up. Plus bringing the increased speed, increased attack means she's really strong. And, you know, 3 hit at random against Fire Knight, that's strong. And decreased defense is useful. So you're just all round very solid champion for that. I have seen Talia used in a couple of very hard stages purely as a damage dealer. She can hit pretty hard. You do have an increased attack on herself. That's quite important in some of these teams where you can't necessarily bring all the champions you want. So anyone who self buffs in terms of boosting their attack damage or obviously increased defense if they're a defense based champion, very, very useful. So these 2 abilities are pretty good, and she will scale well if you can stack her with a High Awakening and Empowerment. I haven't built mine, but I will be looking to probably do so. Mordecai, very strong, very useful, great all-rounder in the game. I would highly recommend building a Mordecai, also used in Soulcross. Deacon is a great champion. I don't remember actually using him much in Soulcross, so we'll find out if he's usable in many stages, but I don't recall having to actually use mine. Maybe he did appear in 1 Fire Knight stage, but I don't think I even used him then. And to be honest, Shamil, Godseeker, we know they are S tier for Hydra and for Sand Devil for Godseeker. Really solid. I have used them in Sintranos as well when they've been available, because they're just very good champions. And that kind of is it. So we're really talking about the main lookout is Frostbringer, Talia, Mordecai, Shamil, and Eri. And they'll all benefit, to be honest, from empowerment and from blessings. Probably Shamil and Eri and Talia benefit most. Fenax, again, also have seen him used a bit, but I haven't really needed to use mine. I would have liked to have seen him available against the Marishka Taras stage. His hard hitting abilities might have been nice. I can't remember if he was actually, but he's very squishy. That's the general problem. And that kind of is it, really. Sorry, I did click out. Sanguina is another little shout out. There are use cases for her, but I haven't built her and I haven't really missed it. That's definitely it, to be honest. If we come to our spreadsheet again, and the first thing we'll do is select all of the stages. We'll then go to Sacred Order, and we can have a look. In fact, Cardinal is popping up a lot of the time in terms of number of stages. Mordecai, who we did mention, along with Sanguinia, who we also gave a shout out to, appearing quite a number of times. Frostbringer, again, a decent number of times. Deacon does make the overall list at 11 as well. Shamil down there only at 9. Godseeker actually only at 9 as well. But now if we pick some of the harder stages, so Finite 17, both Sanguinia and Frostbringer available there, bringing something along with Shamil. And if we look at the extremely tough stages, again, Sanguinia making an appearance, Talia, Frostbringer. So I feel like Frostbringer is worth the investment. You do get the increased attack, you do get the increased speed, usable in multiple stages. Talia, a bit of a shout out. Sanguinia actually does appear a decent number of times, so I will add her to my list. Although, like I said, I don't think she'll make that much of a difference to me, whether I build her or not. Next one up is the Barbarians. So basically what I'm going to do is do this first Telerian as one video, then I'll do Galen Pact, Corrupted, and Narissan Union as the last one. I think otherwise it'll just be way too long. So if we go to the Barbarians, who do I remember using a good amount? I would say Baroth I used a lot. I did see Jamasa, I did see Woad Painted coming up in a few rooms as well, although I didn't use them myself. Haikatoon, absolutely I used. Valor I saw being used, but I didn't use. Farrakhan I did use, and Hoskerl I did use. In terms of who's going to benefit most from empowerment out of those champions, Baroth will, damage dealer. Haikatoon, quite stat heavy, particularly in that finite 17 stage. You want the decreased speed, so you want accuracy on it. You also want it to be very fast and have a bit of tankiness, so Haikatoon would benefit. Farrakhan, usable in finite 10 hard, and again has good buffs and debuffs, so quite stat heavy. And the same with Hoskerl. Really good with this AoE stun, bringing buffs to us. So you want accuracy and you want good speed, to be honest. So very stat heavy. In terms of blessings out of those champions, Hoskerl probably number 1, Farrakhan probably number 2, Baroth probably number 3 in terms of importance. There are good champions here. Alika hits hard as well. I think used in one stage. I think I used her, but I don't use her enough to be that fussed. I felt like the other ones got more use and are usable in other bits of content as well. Aina does good work, but again, I don't actually remember seeing her popping up in Soulcross, or at least didn't for me. If we jump over to Barbarians, let's first look at the overall ratings. Skytouch coming out a lot of times at 17, Jamasa 14, Haikatoon at 13. The Baroth and the Woad Painted that we mentioned coming up a good number. So, and yeah, you can see Aina really not making the cut very often, so probably not worth investing in. If we look at the finite 17, Skytouch does actually make an appearance there, as does Jamasa and Haikatoon. Baroth we mentioned. Woad Painted, actually very good for that as well. And if we look at the extremely hard stages, Valor, Jamasa, Baroth, Woad Painted, Hoskerel, all making the cut there. And then, the other ones, Noena, Alika does appear. I did use her Haikatoon once and Farrakhan once as well. So it very much is leaning towards these 5, of which, like I said, the ones that I would probably prioritize are Woad Painted, Baroth, and Hoskerel. And that is it for this particular video. It's taken about 20 minutes. We've done 4 factions. So, I don't want to do it as one video. I would like to hear from everyone who's watching, basically. What do you think about that as a format in terms of going through the epics, cross-referencing where they're usable in Curse City, talking a bit about empowerment, talking a bit about blessings, trying to give you some good constructive guidance on who to invest in. I hope it's helpful. The game's become so diverse and complex, it's very difficult to give a single answer on who to 6-star next or which epics are best, because it depends what you're trying to achieve. But in terms of which epics are going to be with you in the maximum amount of content, including the hardest content in the game, which is hard Soulcross, where you certainly not going to waste your resources if you invest in them. That's really what I hope this video helps with. So as always, please do like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.